Rakara struggled a couple times in laning phase. Lion, while looking a little bit more effective than Mad Life, was not actually able to clutch out in Game 5.
And they definitely looked like it was really tough loss for them. It was super, super close to them beating P1, but, you know, they put a lot of fight up, which is a lot more than you could really say when it came to the eUnited series against Liquid yesterday.
Yeah, eUnited just, they got completely smashed. There's no way to go about it other than to state it what it was. They failed to adapt in the series. It felt like Piglet kept getting Tristana every single time he was going off. Piglet is a player who can play very, very aggressive, and when you give him the mobility and the resets that come with the Tristana kit, it kind of plays into the style that Piglet wants to use.
Well, even though they're not going up against Team Liquid and Piglet this time around, they're still letting the Tristana through, but albeit they're doing it at the expense of banning out some very powerful pickups, specifically against Gold Coin United. The Orianna from Fly, and the Jarvan and the Maokai away from Santorin.
Right, and then along the Gold Coin United side, you also see the Kalista, Caitlyn bans, two things that were mainstays for them in their series versus P1, and they had a very high priority on Tristana, so it's no surprise here to see United want to take that one away. They don't want to give them the chance to use that, which Rakara was able to almost win a couple of these late games with just because he was on that Tristana pick.
Yeah, Rakara may have struggled in the lane phase against Arrow, although historically in the Challenger Series versus Deathly, they've been pretty much on par with one another. So we'll have to see what the response to the Tristana is going to be. P1 was playing the Varus into it a lot yesterday, and it looks like Gold Coin United are going to wind up doing the same thing here. But one thing that is notably missing from the United ban phase here is something P1 banned every single game against Fenskaren, which is the Sejuani, which is left open.
Yeah, I'll need to see if that one ends up getting taken. Yeah, I was going to let you go.
Wow.
Twist them, jungler. But yeah, the Varus pick, I'll be curious to see how well they're able to use that one, just because Rakara got smashed so hard on the Tristana side of this matchup. I want to see how it goes when it's a little bit more even, because Arrow is a bit of a beast. He sometimes in laning phase, he goes even when you think he should win, but when you put him up against someone who he outclasses, you can see how dominant he becomes. He has some great Kalista games towards the end of the season as well. So understandable to see Rakara down in laning phase, but like you said, Deathly and Rakara usually end up a little bit more even.
And one of the things that may be a bigger factor in this overall matchup is that top lane matchup. We do see the Gnar being locked in for Solo, one of his comfort picks, one of the champions that he is super dominant on. But he's going up against Licorice, who is the top laner in the NACS that some tout may be one of the best top laners, you know, within the Challenger Series, and potentially a top laner in North America to begin with. And he's taking the Camille into that matchup, so it looks like they're about to brawl.
It feels like they want to put some more carry eggs in the Licorice basket here with the Camille pick. And then the Lulu coming in as well with the Tristana, one of the few hyper late game scaling champions. They already show the Varus, so it's not like Lulu Varus has intense synergy. You're not really denying it away. It's just more to get that kill, the Tristana into that disaster, kind of destroying everybody late game. On the flip side, GCU takes Zyra, something that traditionally is a really good matchup, into Lulu and can bully it out of laning phase, which is where Lulu's actually relatively weak currently right now after a number of nerfs. She doesn't have quite that ability to shove you out anymore that she had earlier on there. Heyday.
Back in the old Lulu dominating everything days, which actually was, you know, last Challenger
Yeah,
Finals. That's what Mad Life was using to actually combat Deathly and Zeyzal on the bottom side, although Zeyzal was one that was playing the Lulu when pretty much nobody else was. So we'll see that in his hands again. We'll see if they wind up doing the same trend with the Ardent Sensor Rush on the Lulu and if they're going to go Sightstoneless or not. But during the second ban phase, a lot of pressure being banned out on GBM. In the Challenger Series Finals, it was basically make or break between the two mid laners to see who actually came out on top and how their teams fared when doing so. When GBM looked good, eUnited actually won that game. When GBM was not looking good or was very heavily focused through the pick and ban phase as well as in-game from Gold Coin United, GCU won those games.
It was kind of the case of bot lanes going even, like we were saying, for the most part. Licorice did get the better of Solo every now and then, depending on the matchup. His Cho'Gath into the Shen was something that he played very well. But if your mid lane's losing hard, it's very difficult to carry as a Cho'Gath. So it did, like you say, come down mostly to that mid lane, which for the most part was not influenced by jungler too heavily over the course of that series until the final couple games where GCU put way more attention in there and they were able to snowball on GBM a couple times.
We're going to see a different look to Santorin this time around as he locks in the Rek'Sai for Gold Coin United, something that P1 was utilizing in their 5th game yesterday against them. This time around, we'll see how Santorin takes that into the jungle. It's, of course, kind of his play style, though. Lots of vision-centric control, tanky initiator, all the things that he really wants out of a jungle.
Yeah, Santorin's basically made his name on Rek'Sai way back in Season 4, even when the champion first came out. And it's something that has fallen to the wayside a little bit in the current meta of the jungle picks. You see a lot of things like Elise, Gragas, Maokai, a lot more tanked focus. Rek'Sai is still very, very strong and completely fine. It's just something that had fallen out of favor for a lot of people. I like the addition of it in the P1 comp that they were running previously because it has early game pressure as well as scaling into a front line, and that's something that you're going to see a little bit here for GCU. Santorin's going to be able to put out some pressure early on and then become one of the main CC bots for his team.
Yeah, on the flip side, we do see that Dandy's going to be going onto the Gragas in the jungle, and the last lock-in for eUnited was Talia for GBM out of the mid lane. His Talia performances in the Challenger Series left a little bit to be desired, but he did wind up having a decent amount of Weaver's Walls to kind of cross-map and join into fights, though he didn't survive them very long. It was able to set things up for his team, but he didn't have to survive the lane against Fly, who's locked in a very powerful Syndra pick.
This is pretty scary now for GBM, just the amount of attention that can come mid lane for the first 6 levels, and even after when they start getting their ultimates available, because Rek'Sai now has the ability to actually throw some damage in with the execute on the ultimate now. So it's going to be a very tough laning phase for GBM, and if, like we were saying, things kind of repeat from what we saw in the Challenger Series finals, the mid lane's the make or break position.
Yeah, we did see a lot of roams up there when Mad Life was playing things like Morgana and Thresh. This time around it's YN, and he's playing something that gets more of a direct kind of counterpart to the Lulu in the bottom side. We'll see if the Zyra makes her way into the mid lane and gives GBM a tough time there as well. Coaches are about to shake hands here for game number 1. This is, of course, a best-of-5 series, and there's a lot on the line for both of these challenger teams. You lose here, and you are completely out of the promotion tournament.
Right, you are, and if history is any indicator, GCU is the favorite in this matchup. They also looked a little bit better yesterday than eUnited, so it's going to be a tough road for eUnited here.
eUnited definitely has a lot to prove if they want to try to take this and make it to the last day of games at the promotion tournament. Goldcoin United definitely took P1 to a full 5-game series. eUnited is looking to maybe do the same thing here. Game number 1 of the promotion tournament series between eUnited and Goldcoin United is about to get underway.
If you've been following the Challenger Series over the past year, you might be a little bit surprised to see YN in right now for GCU at the support position. Mad Life did get the start yesterday, if you missed that, and he was playing what seemed to be all right. They did get destroyed in laning phase in the first game. He stayed in for the next 2. They almost won game 2 as well, lost that one off a miracle team fight a little bit for P1, and then game 3 they won. He gets taken out. YN comes in, has a monster Thresh performance, honestly, was one of the critical factors in why they won that game. And then in game 5, he also loses laning phase very hard to Arrow, and then they lose that game. So it's a little up in the air on how well he was doing. We were just told that it was a coaching staff and management decision for the change. We weren't given too many specifics on it, so we'll have to see how he performs here.
Yeah, in the last couple of games, I mean, Thresh game, he was on a playmaking support. He made things happen. They won that game. The 5th game where they lost, he was on Janna, and he was pretty much on protect the Rakara duty when he was playing the Tristana, went for the very fast Ardent Center rush, and then was pretty much protect the team. I think ended 0-0-0 or something like that in that game because, well, GCU did not get a single kill in that entire game 5. This time around, he's on the Zyra. Something's a little bit more of a lane bully, something that can really get up in your face and definitely turn things around like tower dives or create space during siege situations. So a lot of eyes are definitely going to be on YN because there are a ton of question marks around that support spot.
And not just for fans, but for everybody preparing for next year potentially. I mean, this is the perfect time for YN to showcase what he has. Promotion tournament is the ideal time to say, hey, I deserve a spot in the LCS, and hopefully somebody picks him up.
Yeah, players and teams alike are saying things like that, but it looks like we're going to get pretty standard starts from both of these junglers. Dandy on the Gragas here. He's been pretty much on tank duty ever since, you know, the changes to Cinderholt kind of came in. A lot of tank junglers have gotten a little bit stronger, and ever since then, you know, when the patch first came out, 7.14, he was still playing the Kha'Zix, going for the Duskblade, full lethality and everything. But come the Challenger Series finals, even throughout the days of the promotion tournament here, he was just pretty much on tank duty and has not been able to be the same Dandy.
Yeah, when 7.14 first came out, everyone saw those Duskblade numbers. They played it in solo queue and they said, oh my god, this is broken. And then there was the hot fix, and then the first couple competitive matches, people weren't sure who was going to win out, the Duskblade champions or the tank champions. Turns out it's the tank champions for the most part for competitive play. And Dandy's storyline kind of parallels Mike Young's a little bit, just in the sense that both of them were hyper-aggressive junglers who their teams kind of relied on for carrying the early game, and both are limited a little bit more with the tank meta.
And we've definitely seen Dandy be able to get his fair share of first bloods and kills and assists on the Gragas pickup, but it's not necessarily the same late-game kind of threat that can basically be the big damage threat on his team. Instead, he kind of has to be the big front line and let his damage dealers in the back do that. When you have the Tristana now for Deathly, you have a little bit of more late game insurance. When you have Licorice here playing the Camille up against the Gnar, you have a little bit more of a split push threat as well to kind of break up those big 5v5 team fights.
Yeah, it's different clash of styles. GCU is very well known for going for the slow and steady, build a lead, look for the perfect executable play where you capitalize on some advantage. And eUnited does not want to play into that style, that 5v5 teamfight style of play making. And they're going to go for more of a split push focus here. The question is, can Licorice get off the ground against Solo? It's not too bad of a matchup for Camille, all things considered. Solo is on his kind of signature champion at this point in the Gnar, but already down a little bit.
Well, as we saw just previously, everybody watching right now thinks that GCU is going to be able to pull this one out. So maybe they watch the Challenger Finals. Maybe they're just voting with their heads on this one. But eUnited are definitely looking to have something to prove here. After going down 0-3 to Team Liquid yesterday, they really want to make a statement, not only just to stay in the promotion tournament, but doing so against one of their longtime rivals of the Challenger Series, and a team that has taken multiple LCS teams to a full 5-game series.
Here's GCU, man, it's got to be a bit of a heartbreaking past couple of months, just how close they got to making it in last time around, how close they were to upsetting P1 yesterday and getting another crack at Team Liquid, because that was their story in the first promotion tournament, was they actually beat Envy the first time around, played in the winner's match, lost to Team Liquid, and then lost another brutal 5-game series to Envy at the very end.
This time around, GCU, if you're watching the games yesterday, they were the ones that were having to be pushed under their own tower and farming safely down on the bottom side, but this time around, it is going to be Rakara and YN are the ones a bit more the aggressor. CS differences overall fairly close. I mean, there's slight advantages for the side of Fly and slight advantages for Rakar, but things pretty much all even across the board. Gold count just a couple of 100 gold slightly in eUnited's favor, but a lot of that's mainly going to be between the two jungle matchups. We do see the Gragas being able to go through the jungle a lot quicker, and we have seen Santorin already go back a couple of times, pick up a pair of boots and distract.
Yes, indeed. And as we see, Santorin going for that vision focus that everyone kind of talks about him for. Yesterday in the series that he played, did not find too many aggressive looks in the early game and kind of got moved around by Mike Young, where he was 100% going wherever Mike Young went and just trying to hold on. You know, Mike would go into the bot lane, he would go into the bot lane, Mike would invade his jungle, he would have to sacrifice camps. And so Dandy can play that similar kind of aggressive focus, and you saw already taking that Raptor camp away might be a little bit of a run back of what happened to him all series long yesterday.
Yeah, Santorin was mainly about shutting doors rather than opening them up for opportunities for the rest of the team, but Solo's going to make his own opportunity. Hops in, Gnars, Licorice against the wall, forces the flash out, doesn't take him down. He already used the flash to get in there with the Gnar. Meanwhile, mid lane Fly says, you can't get a solo kill top side. I'll make up for it in the mid lane. First blood for GCU.
Oh boy, so one of the things that actually happened off screen when we were talking about the junglers was Daniel made his way up to the top side and forced Solo's flash out with the gank. So that is why Solo did not have it available there to follow underneath the turret for a kill. But even then, he still is able to find the flash to get out of Licorice, so he gets that advantage for himself. And then you see Fly there making his own big play in the mid lane, already with a monster CS lead, now with the kill. This lane matchup can get very, very ugly, especially considering that a lot of Talia's strengths comes from the fact that she can get out of laning phase and influence side lanes. So just here you see Santorin on the ward, clearing it out. GBM just gets a little bit disrespectful, trying to say like, oh, I see him clearing the ward, I'm not scared at all, just gets stunned up and killed instantly. And this is one of the things I think you can criticize GBM for. It's just kind of plays with hubris almost at some points, where he's greedy and he doesn't back off when he should, and thinks he can make any play work.
And we saw Solo about to go into Mega Gnar farm, tries to get the lockdown onto Licorice, but just quickly hookshots himself away. And the catalyst now, if you are a GCU fan, you gotta be thinking this is going great, because the things that happened in GCU series against Phoenix 1 really did revolve around Fly. A lot of it was when Fly was able to get solo kills on Ryu, or able to open up opportunities in the mid lane. That's when GCU decided, hey, we don't need to sit back anymore. We have an advantage. We saw it come in, and now we're going to do things with it.
And the other big thing was when they were able to keep Ryu off of Corki.
Well, there was that too.
Yes. And so here, one of the things that I was saying with Talia and being able to get that kill and how important that is Lion kind of roaming around here, making another concerted effort on
Dandy.
GBM. Dandy in the brush, both people disengage, but the point is, when you limit Talia and you destroy her in lane, that completely disrupts her game plan of trying to get topside and snowball this Camille matchup. And she's stuck farming underneath her turret. Camille cannot make as many aggressive plays, doesn't have the support to snowball into that split push or potentially 1-3-1 setup that they could look for, and the whole game plan starts to fall apart when something like this happens in the mid lane.
And if anybody knows about being able to kind of snowball those advantages and create space on different parts of Summoner's Rift, it is going to be Goldcoin United. When Santorin and Madlife are in the same roster, they usually meet up, and they're the kind of ones that invade, get deep vision together, make sure that everything is really warded up and safe for the side of Goldcoin United to make these plays. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Lion, the guy who stepped in for Madlife, has to burn his flashways. He was going toe-to-toe with Deathly in a very sticky situation.
Yeah, a little bit too far forward there, but now you see Dandy potentially not in the best spot, caught out, jumped on.
Ooh, the wall knocked Fly over the other side, so he wasn't there to help Santorin as he goes down. Meanwhile, Licorice on the top side, gonna get the sweep and a solo kill onto Solo.
eUnited fires back, but instantly into a pause. GCU were setting up in that top lane for a little while there, wanted to try and get a pick off onto Talia as she moved up to collect that blue buff, got a little impatient, started off for themselves. Dandy ends up catching them out, starts that fight that ends up a 1-for-0 in the jungle, and then because everyone knows where everyone is and Solo's pushed up, that frees up Licorice to hop onto Solo and get another kill for himself.
Yeah, and it does seem like it would be a pause on Goldcoin United's side, although a play on the top side of the map goes in favor of eUnited, but the play in the jungle kind of going in favor of eUnited as well, as GBM's Weaver's Wall was able to just basically to cut off Fly from that fight, so they're able to capitalize by getting a kill onto Santorin. The blue buff doesn't wind up going down, and Dandy's able to stay alive in that trade as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you're a eUnited fan, you're right back in the game. You see the gold lead is now basically even small advantage. We'll have to see exactly what this pause is about. Also down the bot side, Wine did just lose his flash, so a flurry of action.
There's definitely a lot.
Immediately cuts your right as your heart starts racing. They're like, no, calm down.
Well, it's definitely a lot that we can just at least recap now. So having this game pause is actually pretty good for us, because that means the fact that, you know, we saw the trade going on the bottom side of the map. Wine was trying to push up, get a little bit of vision control, was by himself. Wine's getting jumped on there by Deathly. So bottom side of the map still pretty much even as far as CS totals go. So there's that. You wind up having, you know, the trades going down, both of these teams playing aggressively on their top side of the map. And that's basically, you know, we were talking about the mid lane kind of being a focal point for both of these teams and where they actually want to focus. There's actually been a lot more action in that top side of the map, where we said this time around, compared to the series we saw yesterday, both the Liquid versus eUnited and the P1 versus GCU matches, that top lane was pretty much an island. We didn't really hear from them until team fights.
Well, one of the things that happens is when you pick carry versus carry, and I know Nara is not a traditional carry in the sense where he's going to become a monster threat necessarily, but he does still, in the early game, have a somewhat volatile laning phase where you can hop on him and kill him when he's in his mini-Nara form. And anytime that happens, both junglers' attention flips up more to the top side, because if that, you know, carry gets off the ground, then all of a sudden you have a big problem on your hands. Or if you get to hold it down, carries become so much more useless than tanks when shut down. So it just makes both people tunnel up on that top side, and it becomes a hyper focus in the game anytime you take something like a Camille, a Fiora, or something like that. Because if Camille goes out of laning phase, even, not necessarily winning, that usually still favors that team.
Yeah, we got to take a look at the fight that just happened over by the blue buff area. You mentioned GCU was setting up and waiting to cut off for GBM, but they see Dandy instead, and they try to collapse on him.
Yeah, they try and get onto him. Unfortunately, Fly was not able to walk far enough over the Weaver's wall to make sure that when it bounced him forward to continue chasing onto Dandy to potentially get a kill there. So he end up split away from Santorin. That leaves Santorin in the 1v2, already kind of low. He gets finished off. A nice play there by GBM, reacting to the pressure that was in their jungle.
Yeah, and you saw immediately after that, you pan up towards that top lane where Solo and Licorice were already basically fighting each other. The Hextech ultimatum was dropped as soon as they saw that engagement going on, because it had expired by the time our observers actually got up there and saw the fight going on. So Licorice, knowing that as soon as that opportunity arose, he pounced on Solo.
It's one of those situations where Solo is pushed up very far in his lane. Not necessarily that safe, but because you have all that pressure in the top jungle, you're fine to do that. Licorice cannot go aggressive because he's not exactly sure where Santorin and Fly are. They could be roaming up to dive him under his turret for all he knows. So he can't go aggressive. Finally, they turn their attention onto Dandy, and then he goes, aha, now there's this mini-Gnar extending the long lane by himself. I know I can hop on him, and that's where I was able to get that kill.
Yeah, and that's going to be very beneficial if you're Licorice, because you're already looking at the fact that you were basically chunked out of lane by Solo beforehand. He didn't have the flash rail because your jungler was up there to try to gank him before, but you barely got out with a sliver of HP, and then you're in the position now that you are completely down in CS. Getting this solo kill is absolutely huge to get the Camille back into the matchup versus the Gnar.
And even Talia grabbing the other kill that happened in the jungle might be able to help her get some push advantage in her lane. She can start roaming up and helping that Camille a little bit more, or maybe down the bot side with the fact that Wine just lost his flash. Zyra, a very exploitable champion when that flash goes down, very prone to ganks. You can potentially try and get some kills down onto your hyper scaling Tristana as well. There's a lot of strong scaling champions here on the side of eUnited that they can try to get that Taliyah to kind of boost and give them some advantages back.
And so I just got word that there's an investigation going on for something that happened during that top lane skirmish. There's a little bit of a game bug, and we're trying to figure out exactly what's going on. But as you mentioned, Wyan on your screen here on the bottom side of the map, being able to, I mean, just talking about him in general. I mean, coming into this matchup, we already seen like, hey, the question marks around Wyan are going to be, is he going to be able to provide the same kind of map pressure that Mad Life was putting out? Is he going to be able to roam up into the mid lane and change this matchup between GBM and Fly? And especially now that GBM has gotten that extra kill out of the jungle, is going to have a bit more of an even stature in this kind of Taliyah versus Syndra matchup.
Yes, and Wyan, like you said, got to be tough as a rookie kind of in this situation. High pressure, elimination series. Game 1 starts out, you're kind of getting into the groove of things. You have to deal with a pause and just kind of wait. Hopefully, you know, things work out fine.
He seems to be quite happy with the pause.
He seems like an energetic guy.
Yeah.
He was on screen yesterday. I'm pretty sure when he got word that he was going to be going in, because you know how we get the shots between games. GCU's all outside. They're huddled up, you know, in the corner. And all of a sudden, he just sprints out of the huddle with this giant smile on his face, just beaming, because I'm pretty sure he was just told you're going to start. So he was very excited to get his opportunity to showcase what he has.
Yeah, and so far so good. I mean, he's technically 1-1 in games. He lost the series. He was 0-1 in series, so that's a little unfortunate for him. But the playmaking thresh was a very big factor for him. The more supportive utility style of Janna, not necessarily the biggest splash. And again, that game was kind of a disaster for Gold Coin United in general. They didn't even wind up picking up a single kill in the game. Got a couple objectives and a single tower, but that was about it. This time around on the Zyra, though, he's already shown a upper chance to roam towards the mid lane, although on the bottom side was without Rakara at that point in time and had to burn his flash.
Yeah, I think the Janna game is just one where your team is notorious for being a little slow and not finding good opportunities. You're on a playmaking or a champion that can't really make its own plays, so it kind of just feeds into itself where it can be difficult to find a look to kind of show how good you could be. So hopefully we get to see something a little bit more on the Zyra, like you said. And he is going to have some big shoes to fill, because when he came in, I think that the big joke, you know, was why in? Why is he in? That's what you saw Twitch chat spamming nonstop. And he instantly silenced those critics when he was able to land that thresh hook and kind of catapult his team into the Baron play. So I think that was pretty impressive. But I don't think, you know, one good game is going to be enough to silence people in who should be playing or something like that.
All right, there's definitely going to be a lot to prove as we see GCU potentially. I mean, Wyan looking super excited about just being able to run off stage as opposed to running on stage as well. So, you know, maybe he just really has to use the bathroom.
Yeah, it looks like there's a big group outing to the toilets potentially. Who exactly knows? At the same time, Solo stayed behind, true to his name, not going out looking for anything. eUnited's all seated for the most part. I think definitely ran to the bathroom as well. I'm not sure where they all went, but a lot of people are up and moving around as they try and figure out exactly what to do.
Well, it seems like that GCU have all left their positions because they were presented with the option for a remake, and they have accepted that option. However, our referees are going to be attempting a chrono break situation first, try to revert back to the time before the bug occurred in the top lane skirmish.
So there's officially a bug then?
There is officially a bug.
All right. So if you guys haven't heard what chrono break is, it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen or been told about. What it does is, instead of rewinding the game, is it actually remakes the game and has it play out exactly as it has.
It's not quite a rewind. It replays the game up until the point right before the bug has occurred. So it's not 100% a rewind.
Yeah, that's why I said it's not a rewind.
Okay,
I said it remakes the game entirely and plays it back out by itself up until that point. Unless I have gotten the technology vastly wrong here. I don't. Did I say it was a rewind?
I can tell you're not an Echo man. That's all I know.
Yeah, I don't believe I called it a rewind. I thought I said it wasn't. But either way, yes, it is a very cool piece of technology that was rolled out. I remember the first time it happened, no one even knew it existed.
It was the FlyQuest C9 play with the Misfortune
C9 yeah, it was insane. That was just like, what? That's an option? What is this? I remember I was on the analyst test for that. And everyone was freaking out as you know, we're trying to figure out, was it a bug? Was it a visual bug? Was it what exactly happened? What happens once there is confirmed it's a visual bug? And then to hear that we have this crazy piece of technology that rewinds the game, or not rewinds, remakes the game up until that point. Yeah, it was very cool to see.
Yeah, and the bug itself in the top lane skirmish, it appears that Camille disappeared from the map for a period of time. So that is why the option was presented, because you can't exactly hit what you can't see.
I remember the good old days when the Alistair Pulverize had the tendency to knock someone up way off the map, and then they would just run around thousands of feet in the air, still targetable somehow, still able to use their abilities, but you know, just stuck on another plane of existence.
They used to happen with Cho'Gath Rapture too. That was
yeah.
really great.
Any of those knockups.
Especially when you had the Gentleman Cho'Gath skin, he has like the voice
up
line,
you go.
"Up you go," and he just never comes back down for like a good 5 seconds.
Yeah, that was those are the glory days.
Yeah.
Now the game is so bug-free. I remember every day on the League subreddit back in the day, there was always someone complaining about some bug, some creep block stuff. I feel like you don't see that anymore.
Well, you know what they say in 2017, Riot is killing every single meme.
That's true. All the memes are dying.
Yeah, everything is going to be completely fine, much like in this game here.
There's a call to action for all the community members now to create more memes of stuff that you want.
Is that what you're doing? You're
yes.
putting a call to action right now?
Yes,
to
the community needs to meme about more stuff that Riot then is forced to make to kill that meme.
Okay, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want people like
meme about me being a millionaire.
Meme about you being a millionaire? Yes. You want that to happen?
Yes, that should be the meme.
I don't know. You weren't even a fan of my Game of Thrones podcast. It doesn't.
I didn't know you had. Okay, so A, I don't watch Game of Thrones. B, I don't watch podcasts about Game of Thrones. And C, I don't know what you do with your free time.
To be fair, it's pretty much just play League of Legends and eat food. That's pretty much my free time.
You got me the same way.
Yeah, pretty much. So, as we mentioned, it will be a couple of minutes while we attempt to do the chrono break situation and see if everything will work out fine for that. But both of these teams, I mean, they're no strangers to the stage. They're strangers to this length of a pause, of course. So, of course, we also have to talk about the fact that, you know, if you are in this situation, you mentioned that with Wyan, you know, he comes in, he subs in for Mad Life. All of a sudden, he's put into this extended pause situation. What is that going to do on him? But it's also pretty much what is it going to do for all the players that are involved in this situation, too?
Well, I hope people learn from that one chrono break situation that happened that we were talking about, because what that whole situation was, C9 tried to force an all-in, or maybe it was FlyQuest tried to force the all-in. Either way, one of the teams tried to force an all-in on the other team. There was a visual bug. They remade it to before the all-in happened, and then they instantly all-in again and executed it better. So you need to be very aware of, like, whatever just happened in the game, think back on that and prepare for that situation to happen again. Yeah,
because you will be put back a couple of seconds before that situation actually arises, so then you'll have the opportunity to do something different. Or if it's the case, maybe like in the FlyQuest versus C9 matchup where, hey, we're going to win that all-in if this works for us, they just do it again and it works out for them and they win that trade.
Yeah, so that, if you remember what happened before this, Solo just got all-in and killed. He should be very aware of that potential to happen again. Same with the jungle skirmish, depending on how far back we end up in the game state.
And then Wyan might not actually blow his flash either. So like you said, there was a lot of things that just happened in that small period of time, and now you just have to kind of think, not only us as the casters, like think back and remember exactly what has happened, but also the players and like the state of mind of what's going on in the game and where everybody is going to go. It's going to be a big kind of task for them to kind of just recollect themselves. And I mean, they themselves kind of have to replay the situation in their head up until the point of where it's going to be.
Absolutely, as well as just, you know, finding yourself again, because anytime that you're in a you know, hyper-focused state that you kind of get into when you're playing League of Legends competitively, it's something that you have to get back into. You don't just instantly, oh yes, we're in the middle of a game. That is very important. It's much easier when you kind of slide into it through the pick ban phase and then into level 1, and you start working through the first couple minutes of laning phase. You find yourself, you find your groove and those kinds of things. And it can be jarring to get pulled out of that and then thrust back into it instantly. And that's kind of one of the things that, you know, you got to applaud a player when they're able to be unfazed by something like this.
Yeah, especially in a situation such as this, because if we take a step back from the actual game, we are in the second day of the promotion tournament here, the final promotion tournament to end all promotion tournaments. This is the elimination match, too. It's a full best-of-5 series that basically is life or death for the players.
So it looks like we came out with Wyan still losing his flash, but the jungle invade has been avoided on the side of GCU. They have backed out. Dandy is going to be able to get into his blue buff, and Solo no longer the recipient of a solo kill.
I love this kind of technology. So we had gone back to about 8 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, and as you saw, we jumped in, it was about 8 minutes and 50 seconds. There was a little bit of build-up beforehand, and as you mentioned, the fact that GCU was not waiting in that brush any longer, that GBM is able to safely and securely get his blue buff. Most importantly, the fact that Solo does not die.
Yeah, that was a bit of a disastrous play out of GCU, where both the mid laner and the top laner get kills. Those are two of the important win conditions for their team. All that said, I mean, like we mentioned, you have to kind of be in the right state of mind, ready to bounce back into this game. Good game sense there by Solo. Sees Dandy on the ward, backs out, makes sure he's not staying pressured up, even though he's in Mega Gnar form. And looks like everyone's going to take a moment to kind of reset themselves, actually going back to base purchasing. You see Fly grabbing Snipe over there as well.
And as you saw right there, Solo making sure that the kills on eUnited's side stay at 0 this time around, as they were not going to be, as he did not give out that death that he did a little bit earlier. But looks like Dandy's going to try to make this one happen, as well as GBM using the Weaver's Wall to come up. Solo's going to get jumped on by the Hextech ultimatum. Dandy and GBM collapse the follow, and I guess some things repeat themselves. Solo goes down.
Yeah, but this is a lot different of a situation just because eUnited is using their comp for exactly what it wants to do. Talia is able to punish Fly on that recall timing, pushes the lane up, gets a roam out to the top side. Fly tries to answer down the bottom.
Yeah, GCU decides to try to go on the bot side. Void Rush is wound up using by Rek'Sai there as Santorin tries to charge forward. The Wild Growth gets popped by Zeyzal. He also has to burn his flash though.
Good answer out of GCU though. This is exactly what you want to see. Don't let somebody make a strong map play on the top side without you finding an answer down the bottom. They are not able to find any kills. They get the flash. They continue to push very aggressively down here, and they'll be able to grab the first turret of the game for themselves. So even though eUnited gets the kill, GCU gets that first turret bonus.
Yeah, so a little bit of extra gold in the pockets of GCU being able to take down the tower first, but eUnited do immediately respond with a tower of their own, so the gold count's not super far apart, but as you mentioned, Gold Coin United, more importantly, being able to react to the play that eUnited was making on one side of the rift and responding with their own on the bottom side.
Taking a look at that, just well timed. You also see right now Fly is down grabbing his blue buff. There's absolutely no way for GCU to be able to answer this play, so instead they move down to the weak side that eUnited only has their bot lane down there for. They force that out, but in terms of game circumstance, it is relatively important for eUnited to still make that play, even though you are going to lose that first turret and your bot lane has to back off. You do get your Camille going a little bit more. You buy some space, you get the assist. You also be able to take that turret. I believe she almost got solo gold for it. Dandy was still in the area. I'm not sure exactly if she got all the gold from taking it down, but still, very important play.
Yeah, more importantly, you wind up getting the Camille, who is at a 20 CS deficit against this Gnar. A little bit more up to speed by giving her that assist and getting her close to that Trinity Force power spike, although now they're going to wind up going in and burrowing onto Zeyzal. The heal comes out, but he still goes down. Fly picks up his second kill of the game.
Really nice punish there out of GCU. They just had more strength down the bot lane, so they have existing vision, and they feel like eUnited's going to come down there and try and fight for some of that vision back. And that's exactly what they do. They're able to catch out Zeyzal, who lost his flash previously. They get a kill on him, and that's going to open up this dragon for them to take as well.
So Gold Coin United able to take a little bit of an advantage on the bottom side and transition into a lot as another kill and this Mountain Drake go over to them. So already jumping out to about a 1,500 gold lead in their favor. They got a Mountain Drake, so they're going to start pushing down some of these other towers. It'll happen a little bit quicker. One of the things, of course, is still the Rift Herald on the map, which eUnited has a couple of wars around that side, but GCU won't even need that neutral objective, instead rotating their bottom lane up into the mid side of the map. We'll see if they try to pressure this tower.
Exactly, you know what we're saying, one of the things you can do to try and limit a Talia is just make sure you keep her pushing under a turret. If you have pressure down that bot lane, you find an opportunity, roam up to that mid side. Maybe you can find a flash ult with the Varus ultimate or something like that to lock her down, you get a kill. Or worst case scenario, you just keep her pinned up and then you rotate back down and catch the wave, as you see Rikara doing right now.
So Rikara, content to do so. Pretty much only a couple of CS ahead of his lane opponent in Deathly, although they have been able to pick up a kill on his support of Zeyzal. And Zeyzal, although he has the heal and definitely has gone with the cleanse, he has not gone for a very fast Ardent Center rush. Instead, got the Ancient Coin, picked up his sights, and actually has Ionian Boots of Lucidity first, try to get his cooldown reduction a little bit more. So it's a little bit of a different take on this Summoner spell swap.
Right, so it's just to talk about this a little bit. The big difference that's going to come here is the fact that Tristana does not really power spike on a single item the way a Kog'Maw or a Twitch does. Twitch will get Blade of the Rune King, Kog'Maw gets Triforce, those kinds of items that makes them very, very strong at a single item. And you kind of want to time that as best you can with that Ardent Sensor and when you start moving around the map and making things happen. For the most part, Tristana needs 2 items, so I actually don't think it's that bad to delay your Ardent Sensor power spike a little bit here to work on getting vision out, especially when you are a little bit weaker on that side of the map. So I actually don't hate the decision out of Zeyzal. I wouldn't say it's 100% right, but in this game circumstance, I can see where he's coming from.
Well, Zeyzal's definitely been one to kind of innovate on some of the things. He was one of the original support players who played Lulu alongside Caitlyn and made that very tough bully lane in the spring split of the Challenger Series. He was playing Alistar in a lot of the semifinals of the Challenger Series, so a little bit more iteration here as Gold Coin United. And I mentioned maybe they don't need the Rift Herald and that neutral objective to take down towers. They prove me wrong. They take our friend Herald with them along for the ride.
As long as you're able to find an opportunity to grab it, go for it. GCU had swapped their bot lane up to the top side after they took that bottom turret. They grabbed the objective on that side as they go. They continue to push down there. eUnited a little bit ahead in tempo since they did not have an objective or a neutral objective to take on the bot side, so definitely is able to grab that turret first.
We saw Solo wanted to go down and try to deal with him, but he was being kind of harassed off of his own jungle route back to the bottom lane by Deftly and Zeyzal. So eUnited making maybe a little, like you said, a little bit faster on the map rotation, not having to take the neutral objective, but GCU, if they're unanswered on the top side of the map, could potentially come away with a lot more. Though Santorin is the one that has the Eye of the Heralds, and he's in the mid lane. They take down that top tower, and there he is. He's channeling it up. They're going to try to get 2 towers in the price of 1.
This is getting a little dicey, though, because they are dropping this in the mid lane, trying to force down eUnited's bot lane is in the process of rotating over from behind. Talia Wall does not actually stop the Rift Herald. Good attempt there out of GBM. And Fly has to burn his Ghost to avoid getting cut off from that rotation that's coming in from out of eUnited. Turret will not drop, but he does get a nice chunk of damage down onto that mid lane. Will be able to be taken shortly here by GCU, most likely.
It's the last remaining outer tower on the map for eUnited, and GCU has moved pretty much everybody except for Solo over to this mid lane here, so it looks like they may be a fight brewing up. Try to knock this tower down. See Santorin on the opposite side. Chain of Crushing goes a little bit wide, and Ricard and Fly are going to get knocked in by a good explosive cast from Dandy. They're able to pick up the kill on the tower. Wyan gets the credit for that, and there's no go button there from eUnited.
That's something that GCU's comp is extremely powerful at, sieging down and having skill shot CCs to hit somebody under the turret, and having very long range follow-up to actually convert that into a kill. If the Varus ultimate lands, if the Cinder Stun lands, you combo up with the other one, Zyra roots as well, drop a lot of damage down and maybe be able to find a kill. There, the Varus ultimate goes wide, but the turret was so low it bought enough space for them to actually finish that one off.
So GCU jump out to a tower lead, and with that about a 1.5 gold advantage. So Licorice on the top side of the map, pushing down and threatening that tier 2 top lane tower from taking a little bit of damage. Solo's going to rotate up there and stop him from doing so. Black Cleaver already acquired for the Gnar, so he's going to be packing a bit of a punch, whereas the Trinity Force now has been completed by Licorice on this Camille. So once again, like we said, this is going to be a little bit of a different take than that top lane tank matchup. These guys are going to want to try to brawl each other.
And as of right now, the Gnar is probably still a little bit stronger. Has his Ninja Tabbies complete, has that D-Shield as well as a Health Crystal thrown in as well. Both of them sitting on one completed item, but Solo has a lot more components to his name. So might be able to stack up well, but it's all about timings, just because when you're on the Gnar pick and you're in that mini Gnar form, you don't really have the damage to probably win an all-in versus Camille.
We'll see eUnited's response. Their mid lane tower for GCU below half HP. So eUnited may be trying to make a frontal assault on this one for themselves, but Fly and Wyan in the mid lane pair enough for a decent amount of wave clear. So eUnited instead, they look a little bit slowed down here at this point in time. One of the things that in the Challenger series that both of these teams kind of went back and forth was the fact that United was usually the fast and aggressive style Challenger team, where Gold Coin United, as we saw in their series against P1 yesterday, was more slow, controlled, played around the vision, and kind of waited for their power spikes and for them to ramp up. United were known for kind of just going forward and not stopping at all. You see GBM putting on the Weaver's Wall and forcing the flash out of Fly, so I said maybe taking a little bit of time. They're trying to make a play to get this tower down, but GCU is just in the area to respond.
Really nice out of GBM there. Starts rotating up to the top side. Solo senses that pressure, drops a ward, but GBM's able to clear that. If he didn't spot him out, he might have been able to dive up on the top side. Instead, focuses back down towards the mid lane, shoots an ultimate behind Fly, gets the flash out for free. And he's doing a good job moving around the map, trying to influence whatever lane he can.
And we also see that now GCU may have moved down to this Dragon area. They took the first one of the game off the back of making a play on the bottom side. This one's going to be a Cloud Drake, so it's not the most combative Dragon. However, eUnited does not want to give over the stacking Drake win condition to the side of GCU, so they're trying to make a play in here. Lakers already joined the fray. Wyanho is going to root him up. They get a knockback from Syndra, and the Unleashed Power will take down the Camille before she even starts this fight, but GCU getting hit up by GBM and Dandy. Fly and Ricard both extremely low. Solo has to try to hop away from that one as well. eUnited have gotten the carries extremely low from GCU, but haven't been able to take anybody down.
Bit of a sketchy situation there. GCU was able to find a pickoff onto Licorice at the start of that fight, but it took a while for Solo to get involved, as well as a nice ultimate out of Dandy. Made that still very scary. GCU does find the single kill. eUnited is the one, though, who comes away with the Dragon.
So they can test it, and they wind up losing their top laner's life, but they do wind up getting the objective. So gold goes in favor of GCU, but objective goes in favor of eUnited. The downside is that they're not able to continue chasing into that mid lane and try to put pressure on that tower.
So taking a look at it, Wyan tries to wait as long as possible, but Scared he's just going to get face checked. So they just go for the chain CC blow up onto him. Not a bad decision. Dandy is able to get that dragon down, and the ultimate as well puts everyone next to GBM, who's able to pelt them all very low, but he starts running out of mana, and then it's hard for them to run through Solo, who finally teleported into that fight. So not actually able to find a way to punish, despite how low they got all those members. Gold lead continues to increase up to about 2,500 now for GCU, and though they did lose the dragon, I'm sure they're not going to be too upset about that. The Cloud Drake not going to result in a dangerous situation where if there was a mountain dragon, suddenly Camille's split push becomes much scarier or something like that.
Yeah, or if it's an infernal dragon, all of a sudden GBM's Talia and definitely Tristana, okay, a lot of extra damage involved. So Gold Coin United still coming out slightly ahead in that regard. Now we have definitely though on this Tristana nearing that 2-item power spike, and as you mentioned before, with the build that Zeyzal was going for, while Tristana is about to hit that static shift power spike, he has the itemization in his inventory already for an Ardent Sensor, so these two should be coming online relatively the same time, which means that Gold Coin United may be a little bit more hard-pressed in the siege situation in just a little bit.
It's one of those things that when they do hit both those power spikes, you can expect to see them probably group up and abuse it a little bit. If you're able to get a couple shots off with your Q on, as well as the Ardent Sensor, Lulu WE, you can suddenly shoot out a ton of damage from on-hit hit effects, as well as the high attack speed that you'll have.
So we'll see if they choose to group up when that power spike happens. They're already kind of grouped up in the mid lane, but it looks like they're just kind of on wave clear wars at this point in time. We saw this a lot of the P1 and GCU series yesterday as well. We saw Arrow on the Varus being pushed into the mid lane to kind of wave clear against the Tristana. Actually, Solo on the bottom side finds himself a solo kill.
Yeah, nice play out of him. Maybe gonna need another look at that one. Licorice's ult is on cooldown. Not sure who initiated the fight though. Either way, the Gnar in that Mega Gnar form, like I was saying, that you gotta play around these windows. If he's in mini form, yes, Camille probably wins. In Mega form, especially if you're near a wall and you get bashed into it, probably gonna come out with Mega Gnar on top. And that's what happened there.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with Solo in that situation. So GCU now 4 kills to 1. Get a little bit of extra gold in their pocket from that one. More importantly, the fact that the split push Camille threat is down means that eUnited had to back away from that mid lane, but now Fly might be caught a little bit too far forward. Greeding for a bit of Sparm as he's going to get knocked back by the Weaver's Wall. Tries to take down Zeyzal with him, but Shutdown's going to go over to GBM.
Oh yeah, just way too far forward there. You see no vision past River at all on the side of GCU, and he's up past mid lane. And here you see down the bot side, it is Licorice who kicks this one off, hops on the Solo, has him in the Hextech Ultimatum, is kiting him out. Nice job by Solo to eventually, as he's kiting, instead of kiting up the lane or something like that, kites left towards a wall, so that way when he hits that Mega Gnar, he can instantly use his ultimate and get the stun. Outplays Licorice a little bit there, gets the kill, and it's one of those things that just sets the Camille's power spike further behind, because you give this influx of gold to your opponent, he's going to hit his items first, it's going to take even longer before your split push really becomes online. It was nice that eUnited could find a return kill on the far side of the map, but Syndra in a long lane should not just be pushed up like that at all. It's so dangerous, especially when you don't have vision versus Talia.
It's one of the weaknesses of the champion pick in general is the fact that it does not do well in those long lane split push situations. Very similar to like Orianna and the other mid laners who pack quite a punch, especially in the lane phase, but not necessarily against multiple targets like that. But now we see Gold Coin United returning to the scene of the crime, heading back up to the top side of the map and trying to put some vision control around the Baron Pit. They don't want eUnited being able to try to sneak that one down now that we do have Tristana on her 2-item power spike and the Ardent Sensor completed by Zeyzal. And as you foretold, Mark, they're grouping up in this mid lane. They really want to try to knock down that last outer tower.
And it's going to be tough. GCU's going to try and find a look here. Solo off in the flank, almost in Mega Gnar.
Yeah, he's actually going forward, does have his flash available still. He's about to transform, but the rest of eUnited very wisely back away.
And during this whole time, though, Camille is down on the bot turret, split pushing away. Going to be able to get that one right there, actually getting this gold lead in favor of eUnited for the first time this game, I believe, since the kills started coming in. And GCU feel like they're a little unsure of what to do. They moved into the Baron Pit. They tried to force vision down there, but they don't have a particularly strong Baron team comp, and only a single Mountain Dragon to their name means this is not the most threatening of positional advantages they could try and force.
It looks like they are still going to be able to try to force this one down. The Scrying Orb gets utilized. If there's a ward in that brush, I don't know if eUnited saw them actually walk into the Pixel Brush or not, but Dandy, ooh, gonna get tagged by the Chain of Crush, and he tries to check that one in the barrel, but an instant flash away. Utilizing the explosive cast to disengage the rest of the team just in case.
Oh, Merc Treads are a pretty good buy. As you can see
so.
there, stops the Chain CC combo, keeps him alive, means that they're still under pressure, and now they're down an ultimate that is very important for finding these pickoffs at the start of a fight.
We saw Solo having to rotate up to the mid lane from the bottom side of the map as that fight looked like it might be breaking out. Did not want to wind up expending his teleport. Mountain Dragon's going to be spawning in about 10 seconds. So we've done this Baron dance and mid lane dance for quite some time, because the last time we saw a lot of action was, well, there was a solo kill on the bottom side of the map here, but before that was the Elemental Dragon, the Air Dragon that was being taken down. So it's been about a good 5 or 6 minutes since we've seen a big old team fight. It looks like Gokonya and eUnited are both positioning for one. Body Slam forces the flash out of Santorin. It definitely has to hop away from Syndra, putting down some pain with the orbs.
Good trade of damage by both teams there. Definitely gets chunked out. He's going to be trying to get back up. GCU now with that little bit of chunk, they were able to get into this Dragon Pit. Definitely healed off camp, I believe. He's back up to full. But GCU starts off the Mountain Dragon.
Yeah, Solo's a little exhausted right now, so he has no Gnar bar available. He's going to start building this one up, but looks like eUnited instead are going to make a rotation for this mid lane tower. So they lose the Mountain Dragon. That's 2 for GCU, but they are able to get that tower and increase their gold advantage now to about 1,500.
Overall, not a terrible trade. It is nice to be able to get that mid lane turret just because it's so important for being able to push in further. It frees up a lot of map movements in general. But giving up a second Mountain Dragon is a little scary, because if GCU gets control of the mid lane and start posturing around Baron, you suddenly have to respect it so much more than you would have previously.
All right, you have a Blade of the Ring King Varus as well, so the percentage of HP damage to that Baron buff is going to be either ever more increased with the Mountain Drakes.
Zyra, no slouch at damaging either. She's one of the highest damage supports, sometimes out damages mid laners.
She definitely packs a punch, it definitely hurts. But we'll see if Wyan is going to be a big factor if they try to do something like that with the Baron tag. I mean, in that case, you could technically have a situation where Santorin, Rikara, and Wyan wind up going for the Baron, which makes this Mountain Drake even that much more impactful. So eUnited have to keep their eyes peeled around the Baron pit area. They're going to continue to utilize the Licorice split push, though, and this is something that they were playing around effectively throughout the Challenger Series, just the entire regular season split, and even the semifinals. They're giving him Gnar, they're giving him Cho'Gath, they're giving him opportunities to create space and make a difficult situation for their opponents to react to on the map. And Licorice's teleport play had been top-notch in the Challenger Series. Just haven't necessarily seen eUnited utilizing the teleport play aspect of this one. And actually, he's going to lock on to Soul, the Hextech Ultimatum. GBM actually joined the fray as well, but so does Fly. And Licorice, I was just talking good about you, buddy. Why'd you have to die? He goes down.
Really nice read out of Fly, though. It felt like they felt that thing coming in.
Ooh.
Still not working out quite yet. Solo gets the flash away.
Yeah, the explosive cast knocks Fly off to the side as well. GBM, though, might not be done with this one. Cleanses off the stun coming out from the Scatter of the Weak, as Deathly and Zeyzal are also kind of running here. The thing is here that Fly and the rest of his team are running the opposite way. Solo going to try to get the teleport off. He does! He completes it. He escapes.
Able to avoid giving up a double kill, but it's a little hard to say that was worth it. He's down teleport advantage now to Licorice. GCU, 3-man core is not nearly strong enough to force down Baron on the far side. So even though eUnited looks like they're overextending resources to find a kill there, they're actually not going to have to give up anything as a result. That was exactly the kind of play you have to worry about if you're GCU, as GBM might have overstayed his welcome a little bit in the bot lane.
GBM now going toe-to-toe once again with Solo, saying, I wasn't done with you yet, want to get a kill on you, but instead Solo's the one who packs a punch and decides to back GBM away.
Yeah, so we'll take another look at that. GBM moving over to his split push and carry, gets a nice Talia wall off. Solo makes good use of it, stunning him into the wall. Did not pop the Banshee's Veil fast enough to get that one off as well, but Fly was on the way in, ghosting over. He instantly blows up Licorice. Now GBM's a little caught out of position, but Dandy has the inside track as well as the rest of eUnited, so they're able to collapse down into this bot lane. A good decision by GCU to actually kite out down. They could not really get up to their team there or back to their base, so they just kind of stall out the situation where neither team ends up with any objectives. But it is scary because this Camille, as much as she's been shut down at 0, 3, and 1, there is this feeling that at any point she could find a kill, and now without teleport advantage, eUnited might get a little bit more aggressive around the Baron.
So she has her 2 main items, and the fact that now there's a Ravenous Hydra picked up as opposed to the old Titanic Hydra build we had seen, and the Trinity Force, and now once again Licorice and GBM teaming up to try to take down Solo. He's almost about to go Mega. One more ability will do it. Decides to actually utilize the timer to do so as Wyan shows up just to throw some roots in the way to dissuade the chase. At the same time, the eUnited are utilizing this pressure in the mid lane between Zeyzal and Deathly, pretty much doing it all themselves, trying to finally take some pot shots at this mid lane tower.
I thought with the global advantage they were going to attack the Baron. Instead they go back to Solo. It still kind of is abusing the global in the sense that if you put both those people down to the bot lane, normally you're concerned about Solo living and rotating and teleporting up to the Baron, but One, they already have mid lane pressure on the side of eUnited, and two, without that teleport, Solo can't join up with his team if they did try and force somewhere else in the map, whereas Licorice can still teleport in. So in that sense, they are still making good use of that global advantage.
No, instead they're playing around Solo by giving him assistance, although they haven't been able to really take down the pesky Gnar who survived for quite some time. And as we were mentioning now, Camille going back and building up some armor, has a Warden's Mail as well as a Ninja Tabby, so being able to take these fights more to the Gnar and having Solo be a little bit more hard-pressed to try to take this. So instead, it's going to be Goldcoin United saying, we don't want to have to deal with the split push game. Camille's all the way on the bottom side. They're going to force that global advantage if they want to teleport at all.
Yeah, I really like this decision by GCU. Just force it down. Don't let this split push game continue.
Wait a second. Tristana stole the Baron. Whoa, whoa. Tristana takes the Baron and Dandy's still trying to stay alive. The Void Rush from Santorin will be able to take him down, and I didn't even realize that happened, but that's the second time we had Tristana crit steal Baron.
Yeah, and with that Baron buff, Licorice is continuing to split push. This also means that GCU does not have the Baron buff recall advantage to try and get back and defend their base quickly. Instantly, eUnited turn and use this to continue to push up these lanes.
Oh man, so eUnited now, they take the bottom lane inhibitor, they wind up taking down the mid lane inhibitor tower before Goldcoin United can even respawn. And now they might have to actually back away from this, and they did wind up losing Dandy in that, so it's still a 5v4 situation, but that is so upsetting for Goldcoin United.
I would need to look at that again, because I did not think Tristana was in range for an auto attack. I might have missed it, but it felt like this Weaver's Wall was not great. There was the Varus ultimate to lock down onto Dandy. Tristana might have auto attacked a person, and the Shiv crit bounces. It is the Shiv crit.
Early smite and the Shiv crit.
I was gonna say there was no way I thought Tristana was in range for that. She was not, but the miss smite there out of Santorin allows them to be able to steal that just with a little bit of that kind of AoE damage that just pops in. It's one of the scariest things that you have to deal with, and a great call out of GCU. I can't fault it. They brute force that down. They have the double Mountain Dragon. They use their tools to keep the smite away. They just failed that last step of actually securing it. And as a result, the game state completely flips on its head. eUnited skyrocket up to a 7,000 gold lead. They take the bot inhibitor, mid inhibitor exposed, and they're in a great position to actually close this game out now.
The only thing that's not on their side is the Elemental Drake spawns that they've got. They have 2 Clouds compared to the 2 Mountain Drakes of GCU, but still, almost 2 minutes left on this Baron buff. Now the entire pressure on Summoner's Rift is in their favor. I mean, the Tristana finally gets a kill, is super, super strong at this point in time, because Deathly and Zeyzal have just very quietly been pushing up mid lane and farming for basically the past 20 minutes. 366 CS, i.e. Maul the Malmortius and the double Energizer Zeal build online.
Yeah, and the thing about the Cloud Drakes has actually been very useful for how eUnited have been using them. I think a lot of people often downplay the effectiveness of Cloud Drake, and for the most part, I can see where they're coming from. But here, you saw repeated moves by GBM from the mid lane to the bot side, making use of that Talia passive and the Cloud Drakes to get down there and try and surprise Solo with how quickly someone is collapsing on him. It also allowed Dandy to make those moves over. And if you want to get really crazy, probably brought Tristana in range for that auto attack. So, you know, Cloud Drake wins the game for United.
I guess so. Right now, it might be Licorice trying to do a little bit too much himself as he wasn't going down, but he's forced a lot of GCU away onto the bottom side. That's going to open up this top lane inhibitor tower to go down. Definitely hops into the fray, and they're going to try to pick off Fly. He's going to stay alive barely, but GBM flashes him for a kill to start off this fight. Now they're trying to lock down onto him as Solo and Santorin both leap onto him. The Void Rush is what secures the kill, but definitely still super healthy because he's got an Ardent Sensor Lulu to help him out. Cleanse has been popped right here. He's trying to chase down onto Solo. Will not wind up jumping because that's on cooldown, but also everybody from GCU just left their base.
Yeah, they're too far away now. Definitely's just going to rotate up to that bot lane that Licorice was escorting in. He's going to start working down these turrets. GCU does get the recalls off, might be able to defend. Dandy's getting soloed out by the Gnar right now, and they gun on to Deathly.
Ooh, he's able to finally pick up with a boulder toss, but Deathly stay alive, flashes away. He's kiting for his life at this point in time, trying to lifesteal off a ward. Doesn't work anymore, buddy. Meanwhile, Zeyzal trying to run on the opposite side, keeps his carry alive, but gives up his life. At the same time, Tristana gets the last couple of shots on an inhibitor, takes that one down.
Very kind of helter-skelter fight there at the very end. Starts out with Licorice going down, receives a lot of attention by GCU. That opens up the top half of the map, which eUnited very intelligently goes aggressive around. Almost get that inhibitor down as well, but definitely does not quite get another jump to get close to those low health targets that were running away after the top skirmish. So there you see, when the base is this close together, it's very easy for people to rotate over. People collapse onto Licorice, get the kill there, and then Fly gets very, very low and definitely is moving forward. He's able to get the kill, and his first jump here that he's going to use is just not actually able to find a kill onto anybody. And then when Tristana can't get the reset, despite how many low health targets there are, not able to find something to actually win the game there. But they're still in a great spot. Both inhibitors down. Top inhibitor very low. Huge gold lead. At any point now with the Nexus exposed, Licorice could potentially backdoor. We've seen a couple of those already.
And it's happened to GCU too. That's the unfortunate part. eUnited don't longer have the Baron buff on them. However, they still have this massive advantage they generate off of that. 2 inhibitors are down on the bottom side of the map. Top lane inhibitor had already taken a decent chunk of damage. Will regenerate a little bit, but probably still is not quite full health. That means that all they have to do is sit up on this top side of the map and take some shots at that, while Licorice on this Camille pickup, 0, 4, and 1, but still probably one of the most effective Camille's I've seen with 0 kills.
I mean, it's very funny when you look at the kill score, 5 to 10, and a useless, if you look at the score line at least, Camille, who has not accomplished much in the split push game, but still they brought a lot of pressure to the pick overall. Licorice was able to take objectives when he was given time alone, so like you said, scoreline says not a great game for him, but overall I think he's actually done a decent job.
The bottom lane inhibitor has respawned, but it will shortly fall as the top lane one did so just a couple of seconds ago. Now eUnited, all they have to do is, there's an exposed Nexus right here. They
just
have the
lean on
Tristana with the rapid fire cannon. They could just wind up focusing down the Nexus and picking this game up and taking game 1 as a victory, but they're going to go for a little bit of a fight. The Void Rush is dodged out from, so the Hexacle Domain doesn't wind up landing, but Licorice finally gets on the board, utilizes that sweep, picks up the kill. Fly now a little bit too far forward, a double kill picked up for Licorice. Leaping into the backline goes definitely. They're going for more kills on the Summoner platform. Solo's going to fall, and the Nexus is going to fall shortly after. Mark, sometimes shit happens, and eUnited takes game 1.
And there you have it, the Tristana static Shiv crit onto a member of GCU that springs over the Baron, steals it away, gives it to Licorice, who's able to use it instantly in split pushing down the bot lane inhibitor. That gives them a gold lead, and they're very easily able to close out from there. And the big thing was, that was actually a great call out of GCU that just went sour off a little bit of an early smite.
Well, the thing was, too, is we were saying United's going to have to utilize this global advantage pressure. They're going to have to utilize the teleport advantage that they have. They have to utilize the fact that GBM's going to move around the map. But they didn't. They didn't play with the teleport play. They were trying to just basically sacrifice the Baron to get the inhibitor on the bottom side of the map with Camille split pushing, and things just went even better than they expected because of that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you get a reward when you were not expecting it. So it is still a little scary for eUnited because GCU made a lot of good plays overall, I'd say. Just in terms of, I like their idea of trying to limit the Talia's game impact by taking the Syndra pick early on. There were a couple mistakes out of Fly over the course of that game, like being overextended up on the top side. But still, the overall game plan out of both teams, I liked a lot. 2 very different styles out of them. And it kind of came down to a little bit of a unlucky play there for GCU.
Yeah, and I mean, that's basically like one of the things is Gold Coin United from the early game, from the draft phase, from everything we saw out of them, wound up coming up very, very well for them. I mean, Fly himself was actually doing extremely well in the lane phase. He got a solo kill early on GBM as the Syndra versus the Talia matchup. He was able to roam around the map. He wasn't able to really get a lot of kills on the bottom side, but he blew the flash on Zeyzal, which wound up resulting in another kill a little bit later on as well.
And they broke that bottom turret open. Then they flip up to the top side. They get the Rift Herald. They take the top turret. And they were doing a really good job of getting objectives in the early game where their team comp is kind of the strongest when Varus is ahead of the Tristana, Syndra over Talia, obviously. And so they did a good job getting those advantages. It's just once the map opened up, they were a little sloppy around the Talia, and then they were obviously way too sloppy around that Baron.
Yeah, and actually we have a replay of that Baron fight going down as well. Like you said, Gold Coin United initiated this. It was the right call from GCU, and it was actually a poor response from eUnited, but a little unlucky.
Yeah, there you see the crit onto Wyon's going to be what actually steals it away from the static Shiv. But GCU did a good job keeping the smite away of Dandy with the Varus ultimate, as well as the fact that with the double Mountain Dragon, this was a good decision to burn it down. It's just unable to actually secure the Baron. They get the kill onto Dandy, but it doesn't matter. His job is done in the sense that, hey, we got the Baron, even though I wasn't the one who did it. And like you said, Licorice, even though he had the teleport, decided not to teleport in. They did not have great vision around it to have a spot to teleport him for a nice flank, to try and kill people on cleanup or anything like that. So he stays in the bot side, continues to push, and once he gets that Baron, he's able to take the inhib turret bottom as well as start pressuring Nexus turrets.
Yeah, and eUnited kind of joined the ranks now of teams that are able to steal games away from Gold Coin United in this promotion tournament. But one of the things we actually have to look at is the fact that the solo lanes from Gold Coin United, both Solo and Fly, Solo got a champion that shows great mastery over. Fly got something that he was extremely dominant on, and they were able to get advantages for Gold Coin United in the early game, which is what we said, sometimes they lack.
And this is one of the things that happened a little bit in the finals between these two in the Challenger Series. Fly got the better of GBM for the most part, and once again, starts out with a solo kill, moves into the jungle after, like you said, he helped burn Zeyzal's flash, be able to get a chain CC down onto him. They get those 2 kills early on, and then there was also the Dragon fight where he combines with Wyan again to blow up Licorice instantly at the start of this fight. Still a little bit scrappy, but then he starts making mistakes as the game moves on. Here, pushing up very far on the top side. You see almost no vision up there in the top lane, a couple wards in your mid line, but obviously if they're coming through the top jungle, you're not going to see him coming, gets picked off, and that's where the game started to come off the hinges a little bit. Even though GCU had all that great early game play, it still was slowly moving more and more in eUnited's favor. They started forcing around the bot side, they found the 2 kills, and it felt like, you know, this game might actually go eUnited's way before it catapulted in favor of eUnited off that Baron steal.
It's very similar to the way the P1 and GCU games kind of played out yesterday. The fact that P1 had like this very early game focused composition. Granted, GCU's comp wasn't completely early game focused either. They had a lot of damage on their team and still was revolving around the team fights. But United kind of had like that late game insurance. We had the split push Camille, which will eventually out 1v1 the Gnar, the Tristana, which is eventually going to be a late game team fighting monster. And so the clock was kind of ticking, and GCU had all the pieces in the right order. It's just as soon as one of them fell down, the rest of them catapulted in a domino effect.
Yeah, and at the same time, GCU is not known as the aggressive early game team who's going to snowball a game. So even though, you know, that's kind of what their champions do, that might not be what they do best stylistically.
Right, so we're headed for a break after that game 1, but there's more coming up. When we return, we'll see if Gold Coin United can tie the series up, or if eUnited we're going to jump out to a 2-game lead.